The moment I thought I was living the worst nightmare of my life, I realized the real nightmare had only just begun. I had always believed that marriage was a sacred bond, meant to last a lifetime, a relationship built on loyalty, trust, and love. That was my world. That was the foundation on which I had built my life. But one evening, the woman I had devoted my entire heart to looked me in the eyes and shattered everything I believed in. With a voice eerily calm, she confessed that she had been in the arms of another man. And as if that betrayal wasn't devastating enough, she took it even further. She proposed an open marriage. At first, I thought she was joking. Then I saw the seriousness in her eyes, and it hit me like a freight train. This marriage, the one I had cherished, the one I had fought for, was no longer what I thought it was. But the real shock wasn't her infidelity. It wasn't even about the man she had betrayed me with. The real shock came later, when I found myself seeing someone else. And not just anyone, her best friend. This was her idea, wasn't it? Then why was she suddenly so jealous? Laura and I had been complete opposites when we met in college. She was energetic, outgoing, and full of life, while I was quiet, reserved, and introverted. But somehow, those differences had fit together perfectly. Her light illuminated my darkness, and my calm steadied her storm. We got married right after graduation because we were certain, utterly convinced, that we were in love. Life moved fast, but we were happy. Our 2 daughters, Beth and Janie, were the center of our world. I never imagined our marriage could fall apart. Then one day, I saw the messages. It was by pure chance. I wasn't the type to snoop, but something felt off. Her phone was left open, and my gut told me to look. And there it was, undeniable proof. Last night was incredible. Every moment with you is amazing. The sender, Scott. For a moment, my brain refused to process it. Scott. Who was Scott? Where did he come from? I scrolled further, my heart hammering in my chest, my hands ice cold. The messages left no room for doubt. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was an affair, an ongoing betrayal that had been happening for weeks, maybe months. That evening, I confronted her. I expected denial, excuses, guilt, anything. But she simply met my gaze and, without hesitation, admitted it. Yes, it's true. I stared at her, waiting for more, for an explanation, an apology. But instead, she said something that made my blood run cold. Maybe we should modernize our marriage. She spoke as if it were a business proposition, as if she were offering a logical solution to a minor inconvenience. I still love you, she continued, but sometimes something feels missing. I've been thinking about an open marriage. That way, you can be with other people too. And so can I. It felt like a knife had been driven into my chest. The woman I loved, the mother of my children, was not only admitting to infidelity but suggesting that we turn our marriage into some kind of open contract. Then why are you still married to me? I asked, my throat tightening. She sighed, her expression unreadable. Because I love you, Jason. I love our family. But sometimes, I want different things. Why can't you understand that? I couldn't. And maybe I never would. That night, Laura got dressed, put on her perfume, and left, to be with him. Meanwhile, I stayed home, putting our daughters to bed, trying to process the wreckage of my life. Divorce was the obvious choice, but when I consulted a lawyer, the truth was painfully clear. Texas law wasn't in my favor. If I filed, Laura would likely get the house. She would get primary custody. My lawyer put it bluntly, cheaper to keep her. The thought sickened me, but it was the reality. So, what was I supposed to do? Look the other way while she played house with another man? Was there another option? Determined to figure out my next move, I sat her down one evening. The usual setting, me with a beer, her with a glass of wine. All right, I said, exhaling slowly. How exactly do you see this working? Do you really want an open marriage? She hesitated for a moment, but nodded. I think it could be good for us, Jason. We love each other, but monotony is killing us. Monotony? She called it monotony while she was running into another man's arms? The irony was unbearable. Fine, I said, my voice steady. Then let's make it fair. If you want your freedom, I want mine too. Her glass paused midair. What do you mean? I'm going to start seeing someone too. Her eyes widened. What? But this was your idea, wasn't it? I interrupted. If this is how things are now, then your rules don't just apply to you. I'll do the same. She didn't object. She didn't argue. She just took a slow sip of her wine. But I don't think she truly understood what she had agreed to. For weeks, life remained cold and distant. Laura continued spending nights with Scott while I focused on my children. But I needed an escape. I started running. Every morning, 5 a.m., pounding pavement until my thoughts cleared. And that's when I met Diana. Unlike Laura, Diana actually enjoyed my company. She was kind, intelligent, and genuinely valued the people in her life. Most importantly, she adored my daughters. At first, we were just friends, but as time passed, the connection grew. For the first time in months, I felt something I thought was gone: happiness. And that's when Laura started paying attention. Suddenly, she was checking my phone, watching me closely, acting overly interested in my life. One evening, while Diana and I were away on a camping trip with the kids, my phone buzzed with a series of angry texts. "Where are you? Who are you with?" I smiled. She was finally feeling what she had put me through. When I got home, she was waiting, arms crossed, her face tense. "We need to talk." "Let's talk. Are you really seeing someone?" I narrowed my eyes. "Seriously?" "Of course." "But Jason, Scott was just a fling." "Are you serious about this woman?" I almost laughed. The hypocrisy was staggering. Diana and I are taking the kids camping. Her daughter gets along really well with ours. I will never forget the look in Laura's eyes. Jealousy, regret, fear. But I didn't care anymore. She had made her choice. Now it was my turn. She tried to act indifferent, but she was unraveling. One night, she finally asked, her voice trembling, "Do you still love me?" I shook my head. "You ended this marriage, Laura. You say you love me, but your actions say otherwise." Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't cry. Shortly after, I had divorce papers drafted. She resisted at first, but in the end, she signed. One day, I saw her sitting alone on a park bench as I walked by with my daughters. She saw us but didn't approach. And in that moment, I realized, she didn't miss me. She missed the life she lost. But I had moved on. And sometimes, the greatest gain is losing the wrong person.